Good morning, yardeners. It's Destry. Welcome back to my yard. This morning, call 911. We are on a houseplant rehab rescue mission. We are going to be trying to save these poor neglected houseplants. So stay for the video and check out. Let's see what we can do to help rehab these dying houseplants. Okay, so a little bit of a backstory here. I am a member of a gym, and unfortunately, that gym just recently announced that it was closing. So I was there on one of the last days, going to the pool and getting my workout in. And all right, so a little bit of a backstory here. I'm a member of a gym, and recently, unfortunately, that gym announced that it was closing its facility. Such a bummer. But while I was there on one of the last days, they were kind of liquidating some of their things and getting rid of things. And on the counter, I saw these 3 pathos plants sitting there. I happened to mention to the owner, I said, "Oh, well, what are you guys doing with the plants?" And she said, "Oh, we're going to throw them away." And you know me, I was like, really? Well, if no one else wants those plants, I'd be happy to take them off your hands. And she's like, "Oh, sure, you can have them." Little did I know, actually, I kind of assumed, but little did I know that when I got the plants, they are in sorry, sorry shape. So these are plants that have been, at no fault of anyone there. Someone watered them and kept them alive. So kudos to that person. But they are in bad shape. They were in a business, they were in probably a low light area, with people that didn't quite know how to care for houseplants in the best way. So let's show you where they're at right now, and let's talk about what we can do to help revitalize and refresh these really beautiful plants. Woof. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at the state of these. And I apologize for the sun, it's kind of early in the morning, but I can see in the dirt here that these are probably plants that were watered almost like too regularly with probably little amounts of water and kept too wet, because I can see fungus spores here. And I can also see that some of the branches are like barely hanging on. So like this one here, I can tell that that is, rotted right there, and that is all dead. So another thing is that they've actually got like a planter inside of a planter. So I can also tell that this has been sitting in water, which is, again, it's going to keep the plant alive, but it's not the best situation for this kind of style of plant. Probably the best thing to do for a pathos is to water them, less frequently and more deeply. So look at this here. This is all, kind of like, what do you call that? I guess from the watering, they're just in bad shape, you guys. They're just not great. Um, to the benefit, like I said, of the people that were taking care of them, they actually do have leaves. No, pathos plants are like pretty impossible to kill. But look at the level of soil here, and you can see the pot. I love this. This is my favorite. Just put a piece of tape on it. It's fine. Um, so anyway, they just really need a refresh. What they really need is to be repotted and put fresh soil in and things like that. Again, sorry for my shadow. So I'm going to grab some fresh potting soil. I'm going to grab probably a bigger pot. And then I did grab a couple mason jars, because I think some of these branches are not going to be able to be saved. The only way that I can save them is to clip them and put them in water and try to propagate them, because the roots, like here's an example. So the root, see, it's just, there is nothing there to hold it in. So if I snip this and I put it in water, then this can reroot. Oh, it actually looks like it has a root. Anyway, I'm going to have to get in here and investigate what's going on. But I did grab some mason jars so that I can possibly, actually just put some of these tendrils in water and root them that way. So I'm going to go ahead, set up the camera, and get started on this project, and let's see what we can do to rehab these pathos plants. So starting with the pathos plant that was probably in the worst shape, I started by just pulling everything out and separating all the roots of the plant so I could really see what was going on. I will tell you, when I pulled out the soil, you could literally smell the musty, kind of molded smell of the soil that just was not doing anything for these plants. So here I am just kind of tucking back in the pieces of the roots into the pot that I'm transplanting into. And I did trim a few of the roots as well, which isn't going to hurt the plant any, just to sort of revitalize everything that was happening here. So the potting soil I chose to use for this project is from Miracle-Gro. It does have nutrients built into the soil, so I don't have to worry about adding any slow-release fertilizer. So I chose to use that one for this project just to really give these a boost. Now with this particular plant, you can see that it was difficult to separate all of the sort of legs or arms of this plant, and you could see there was big sections where there were no leaves. So with this particular style of plant, those leaves will not grow back in those sections. So what I'm doing with this one is really trimming apart all of these leggy sections and getting rid of those areas with no leaves. Now, as long as you trim them where there is what's called a node and put them in water, they will reroot, and then you can sort of get rid of all of those sections where there's just, a vine. So it was interesting that most of these pots there was no drainage, so they were just sitting in water, and this one had like a seashell in the bottom of it. And these particular style of plants do not like to be sitting in puddles of water, so it's really important that I was transferring these to pots that had drainage, and that's one tip I have for you about this style of plant. So now it's time to tackle plant number 3. So same thing here, I could see that it had been sitting in this pot within a pot and didn't have proper drainage. So I'm taking it down to the ground there and getting rid of all of that moldy potting mix and separating the roots, very similar to what I did with the previous two, assessing what can be repotted and what areas might need to just be trimmed off and allowed to reroot in water and propagate that way. So for this third one, I decided to use a terracotta pot, which is going to allow a lot more airflow to these pathos plants. And again, using the Miracle-Gro potting mix, I'm kind of just, gathering up all the sections there to sort of make this look like a more full plant as well, and getting that in a nice fresh pot with fresh potting mix feels really good. Repotting plants like this can be pretty challenging. It takes a lot of patience and it definitely takes some time, but it can be really rewarding when this plant really bounces back and starts to fill in and push new leaves. It's a really satisfying project. So I would encourage you, if you have a pathos plant that's looking a little tired, don't be afraid to sort of pull it apart and revitalize it by the fresh potting mix and kind of trimming things away. You'd be surprised how quickly they bounce back and really can look beautiful again. Okay, we are done with our rehab project. Here's what we ended up with. We ended up with a new potted plant there, one in a terracotta pot, and of course added a few good luck charms here to help everything grow. That's my little art piece there to kind of help. And then a lot of them did end up in the mason jar. I'm going to plan to do a little bit of voiceover in the previous video just to kind of explain why I decided to, cut some of these smaller and just let them reroot completely. But I was pretty, surprised at how bad the soil actually was, but I think these are going to do great. I'm going to fertilize everything. I did water things in. I am going to fertilize. I'll probably give them a day or two to settle into their new homes, but I'm going to bring them inside right now so that they don't get too much sun, because they're not used to obviously being outside and being in the full sun. So I'm going to bring them inside, and I think that they will bounce back nicely. And when this one roots in, we'll have a chance to pot this up and kind of give it like a fresh start. And yeah, pretty happy with the way that they turned out. Okay, yardeners, it's actually later in the same day that I did this plant up project, and hopefully some of the voiceovers I did kind of explain the process. It's hard to talk through something when you're just intuitively doing it, but I really hope that this repotting of these plants is sort of a homage to the gym that I was a part of. It was a really amazing community, and so I have kind of a little plan for this particular one. It might end up with someone that it was really special at the gym that I was a friend with. So anyway, if you do have any pathos plants, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reimagine them, to kind of get a little rough with them, because sometimes that can really help rejuvenate the plant and just give you a fresh start, which is kind of what everybody needs sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a subscribe and a like, and share it with a friend. And go out and get in your yard today, or go mess around with some houseplants. I hope you do, because it's a really fun place to be. See you next time. Bye.